We're live.
Thank you. Welcome back to Senate Education. We're now going to finish today by looking at what is being referred to as the Mascot Bill, S-139, an act relating to public school team mascots, and just trying to still work a little bit on, is there a path forward on this? So I asked Ms. St. James to take a look, see what else might be out there, see if there might be a way to put some of this responsibility back to the school districts and say, hey, we need you to make these decisions. Let's give you a period of time to make these decisions, and also incorporate the state board. And then we were talking a little bit state board in the process. And then we were talking a little bit around how to, what other states are doing or have been doing. So with that, this bill is still, I think we heard some pushback from the original version. So we're just taking a look at a kind of a new draft. So how do you want to handle this, Ms. St. James? We have it on our laptops. Do you mind just taking us through it and talking about what this version would do?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Beth St. James, Legislative Counsel. So this is a strike-all amendment, committee strike-all amendment to S-139. So starting fresh, the first section of this bill on lane 7 of page 1 starts by updating the powers of the state board. Currently, who decides mascot names, team logo names, letterhead, all that jazz is not specifically delineated in law. What happened out of the South Burlington mascot issue was a group of citizens went to court. The school board got rid of the rebel moniker. A group of citizens got a petition going to have a vote to put whether or not the moniker, the rebel name, should be reinstated, have that go to the citizens. The school board said no. And citizens went to the court and said, help us get to the voters. And so the case that came out of that went to the Vermont Supreme Court is really about voting procedure. But there was one paragraph within there that talked about where does the decision-making ability lie regarding mascots. And so basically what the court decided was, that's great, you've got a 5% petition, you can do that, but the school board is not obligated to put something on a ballot where the voters don't have a right to make the decision. And so then there was a small amount of discussion about where that right lies. And based on current law, my mouse would cooperate here, there we go. Under the school district's powers of school boards, which is in Title 16, Section 563, there's these two broad reaches of power. It says shall determine the school boards of the local school district shall determine the educational policies of the school district, and they may take any action that is required for the sound administration of the school district. So in order to reach the decision that the school board was within its power to turn away the petitioners in South Burlington and say, we're not going to put this to a vote of the electorate, was by part of the way they reached that. There was a whole line of election law discussion, but they also said, this really looks like a decision that the school board can make. And so therefore it's not something the voters have a right to decide. Turning back to this bill, if you are going to require the state board to do rulemaking in this area, it made sense to me to add a specific power to the state board. If you're going to require the state board to do rulemaking here, to add specific power for the state board to adopt rules governing public mascots, nicknames, logos, letterhead, and team names. So that's kind of the enabling change there.
And if I could just, this is something that I've been thinking about, and I can't emphasize enough, this is just one idea. Please shoot it down, whatever you want. I'm just thinking, is there a way for us to, I don't see the legislature having a productive debate on the floor or even in committee around what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. I think this could be, and I touched him just briefly with the state board chair and said, hey, is this a possibility? And they're open to it. But I could see what the debate would be like if it got onto the floor and we said it's this, and I think this is just one way to think about it. Okay.
So,
yeah, Vice Senator Chittenden. Yeah.
I don't know if you're done, Beth. I'll just say I like the direction of this a lot, and that makes a lot of sense to put it to the board so that we're not debating on the value of galloping ghosts versus rebels on the Senate floor, because we're never going to come to agreement, and it's just going to be unproductive discussion. So I like the framing of this bill.
I think there's also, with a lot of these, there's a real history there that I think it's a lot to ask even, various groups there's going to have to be some real digging into this kind of stuff. I think it was this bill sponsor said something about there used to be a mascot called Bob White, and it wasn't for the bird, but it was for this guy, Bob White. So yeah, there's all this kind of history behind these kinds of things. And I'm okay, go ahead, Beth.
sure, thank you. So the first section of this strike all amendment explicitly grants power to the state board to make rules regarding this area. And so the second section and the rest of the bill would be session law. And it's providing it's directing the State Board of Education to adopt rules for acceptable mascots, nicknames, logos, letterhead, and team names for public schools. And then to give some guidance on what acceptable means, there's the additional language of acceptable mascots, nicknames, logo, letterhead, or team names shall not have a name, symbol, or image that depicts or refers to a Native American tribe, individual, custom, or tradition. Those are drawn out specifically like that, just so it's clear that Native American modifies all of those.
What
and
do
that
you
they're
mean,
not.
if I may, I'm sorry for my ignorance on this, by Native American. Oh, so I see, refers to a Native American tribe, individual, custom, got it, or tradition. Okay.
Right. Otherwise, some lawyer's going to come in and say, well, I don't know what Native American's modifying. Your mascot is a tradition in my home from Sweden, and therefore I think it's so.
Yep,
and then the next section asks the state board in developing these rules to consult with certain organizations. I've included the V's here along with 2 students.
Yes, and the 2 students, I'm sorry to interrupt, Ms. St. James. I added those in part. I think it's correct. It's the right thing to do. But I think Senator McCormick also, and we had some discussions in this committee that, we want to have students, might not be the right number of students. We may ask more. Senator Perchlik.
I'm pretty sure there are 2 students on the board. So I don't know if you want to distinguish between the 2 students that are on the Board of Education versus other students. I think they have 1 voting member and 1 alternate, and then I think it's the Board of Education that does that, but I know they have students on there.
Okay, that's a good point. Senator Lyons.
Yeah, no, I wonder if saying at least 2 students, I think 2 is might be narrow. Yeah, but
I like that.
I know there are students. Yeah, I know there's students on the board, but it would probably be nice to get other input.
Right, that's what I thought you said. Maybe say.
Yeah.
2
I
students agree. Not on the board.
Yeah.
I would think there have been different communities that are debating this issue now, recently debated it. Could be interesting to get those particular voices, those students. Okay, so at least 2 students. Please continue.
Sure. The next section or subsection B, we're on page 2, line 16, gives the deadline of December 31st, 2023 for each school to comply with the rules that have been developed by the State Board of Education. And then the consequence of not complying is that, and I just picked a date that certainly could be changed, but on or before April 4th, 2024, the State Board is going to choose their nickname or mascot for them.
Yeah, and
then that's the bill.
Yeah, could just give some context here. I didn't personally, again, feel free to shoot this right down, think that, keeping kids away from sports because adults couldn't, figure it out didn't seem fair to me personally at all. Hey, the State Board could come up with something. I don't, to be honest, I'm not even crazy with the State Board coming up with it, but I didn't like excluding kids from things, all of a sudden shutting down the sports teams because people didn't comply. Any comments? I'm looking particularly, and I'm not trying to in any way target our two senators from Rutland, but you're both in the thick of this right now, and I want to know, where you're at, and want to make sure we can get your thoughts. Cheryl, you or Senator Hooker, you just unmuted yourself.
Well, it's a very personal issue for a lot of people.
I understand.
I understand, the difficulty, especially if you read the history of the Rutland Raiders. It definitely applied to Native Americans, and some of it wasn't very complimentary. And so, I think this is going in the right direction. I guess I just want to clarify that school boards will have the authority to choose a mascot as long as it's within the parameters that are set by the State Board of Education. And, that makes a lot of sense. And I have to say, last night I watched a 2-hour film called Fighting Indians about the process that Maine went through.
Oh, really?
And, after several years of discussion and a lot of emotion, the entire state, where they had, I think they said they had 18 schools that had Native American mascots. And after about 5 years, it was down to one school. And finally, that school board voted to eliminate that mascot. And then the legislature codified what, had taken place. So I think that we're giving people notice that this is something that needs to be attended to. And the other thing that I had said the other day was about education, because some of the mascots, if you talk about the pirates or whatever, what kind of history does that have? Where is this connection? There may be connections that communities have, but let's learn about that as these mascots are chosen. So.
Senator Terenzini.
Yeah, thanks, Senator Campion. And I appreciate Senator Hooker's comments, although I think I'm going down a different path. You and I spoke, Senator Campion, either Sunday or Monday offline, just so we could talk a little bit about this. And I really believe that these are, and this is not my opinion for or against the Raiders or the Ravens or the logo or anything like that, but truly, this these are localized issues that should be dealt with at the local level. I look at everything that we have on our plates right now with the pupil waiting study, church and state, the COVID pandemic in our schools, ARPA money that we need to, spend and figure out where it should go, and so on. We have so much on our plates right now. I have seen, just like Senator Hooker has seen the last 2 years, of how this mascot issue has bogged down our entire community. I mean, there are families that have been divided over this. There are friendships from decades ago that are ruined over this mascot issue. And I truly believe that we shouldn't spend any more time talking about it. I could see this committee and the Senate in general spending weeks and weeks on this and not accomplishing things that we have so much, I don't want to say are more important, but people waiting, for example, which we know affects every student in this state. We need to get that right. So, I don't want to see us spend any more time on this personally and kick it back down to the school board levels and let them deal with it. I will say that I think that the art of compromise here in our community was long gone. I think that respectful conversations, trying to put yourself in other people's shoes, I just think those, unfortunately, the battle lines have been drawn, and there just isn't that compromise or that commitment to working together in a cooperative spirit here any longer. So long answer short, I think we shelve it and move on to some other work that we have that's really pressing.
Thank you, Senator Terenzini. I think, so what I was thinking about with this draft is that in a way it would, so what I was thinking in part was, all right, what happens in December 2023 if we still have schools that haven't taken these steps? So I was just, again, I really do appreciate what you're saying, everything you've said, in particular, and I think Senator Hooker mentioned this also, about trying to, these things happening locally. And that's why I'm trying to sort of keep the bill simple, push the districts a little bit, say, hey, you've got a year and a half or whatever it is, and try to make those decisions locally. I don't know if it's the right approach or not. So it sounds like we have a tie from Rutland County. Anybody want to
break the tie?
Add anything else?
Mr. Chair, can I just—
Yeah, please, Senator Hooker.
To Senator Terenzini, because I totally agree with him.
Yeah.
We have issues that are really pressing and need to be addressed.
You bet.
But we also have those issues at the local level, and talk about tearing, the school board apart and not getting stuff done for our kids. And this is the type of thing that would kind of take it off the table of the local school board as far as, making that decision regarding whether or not it's appropriate, and then allow them to make a more, I don't know, I guess just kind of a, I don't want to say fun decision about what their mascots could be, but it wouldn't have to deal with the kind of emotion that we're seeing now, and the kind of, angst that we're suffering now. So I think that you're absolutely right. This is taking away from other stuff that we need to do, but it's happening at the local level. And I think that by moving it to the State Board of Education, we kind of ameliorate that.
Senator Chittenden and then Senator Lyons.
I want to just say what I completely agree with Senator Hooker right there. I remember the rebel debate, and it's exactly what you just described. We were fighting over a mascot when there were so many more important things for us as a community to be looking at than what our kids rally around on the field. I'm a rebel, and I'm always going to be a rebel. We no longer have the rebels, but I just said it's just a mascot. So I just think people get wrapped up in this, that I, like Senator Hooker's last point there, would really support moving this forward if it would help these local fights. If this would give these school boards some shielding, so they can say, well, you know what, the state's just going to set the rules for this, and we can't really fight this anymore. I'm attracted to doing this if that protects our school board so they can focus on the budgets and meeting our educational needs of our kids. If this bill doesn't do that, then I could be persuaded against it.
Senator Lyons. Thank you, Senator Chittenden.
Yes, I think the debate at the local level is so divisive and unfortunate, and people do take their mascots very personally. We went through a mascot change at the Champlain Valley Union High School several years ago, and a lot of suggestions were made, and some of them were kind of fun. It actually got to be a fun event after people understood that the word crusader had some religious connotations that may not fit with a public school. And then so all kinds of suggestions were brought up, including cows and logos like rattle, 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 here come the cattle, which is what we were hoping would happen, but it didn't. We're the Red Hawks now, but but on a more sober note, I think it is critical that this kind of divisiveness be removed from school board decisions at the local level, and understanding that when rules are made, there's a public process. So the state board will have to have an open public process to hear comment from schools across the state and parents and anyone else who wishes to provide input. So that will be, for me, that would end up being the big debate, the kind of the knockdown and drag out debate that we would see would be at that rulemaking level, and then maybe things would settle down a little bit. But so I like your idea of the state board, Senator Campion. I think it's a good idea.
I do want to go back to Senator Terenzini's comment, which I appreciate. I mean, these are pressing times. These are busy times. I mean, the one thing I can commit to you is we could figure out a way that, and I completely, we don't want this to get in the way of dealing with the pandemic or some of the other priorities. And maybe what we do is think about in terms of our passing things out, and just, I would commit to you that I want to get everything done and wouldn't want this to jeopardize other priorities, if you will. For Senator Perchlik, I'm sorry, Senator Terenzini, do you want to jump in?
Well, I appreciate your comments. No, I was just waiting to see my friend Senator Perchlik come see it my way. So I wanted to hear you say it.
No, but I don't think we're all on like crazily different pages. I don't think any, when you were, nobody was, I think we're all kind of close to where there's some similar ground. Senator Perchlik.
Yeah, no, I agreed with what Senator Hooker said. We're agreeing with Senator Terenzini's concern about the workload, but
yeah.
When I think of is it the right thing to do or not, I think we should do it. It's a hard thing to sell somebody that's really offended by a mascot to say, I agree with you, it's offensive, but we didn't have time. We can't chew gum and walk at the same time and get this passed. So in that regard, I think we should move forward. But if it does take months and months and we're really pushing everything, other things off our agenda, then
you bet. I
would agree with Terenzini that we shouldn't let it run away from us. And I'm hopeful that your new draft kind of does that. I'm glad to hear that the chair was willing to take it on, because it definitely pushes it off onto them. They're the ones that are going to have to spend the time on it. But if they're willing to spend the time on it, that's great that we don't have to. And then maybe, because I think that the House has a bill on this too.
I think you might be right. I don't know where it landed, but it's but I believe they do have a bill on this. In other words, I'm not sure what committee has it.
Right. I don't know if they're working on it, but maybe we can help there too. I agree with the comment too about helping the local school boards, but maybe we can, if we're moving this draft, they can stop working on it and work on other stuff. But I know they're always looking to the Senate for guidance.
Senator Terenzini.
I was just going to answer Senator Perchlik's question. There is some type of a similar bill. I haven't looked at it, but there is one from Rutland City Representative Knott in somewhere in the House. I don't know where. I assume it's in education somewhere, but
I think for some reason, I could be wrong. I think it ended up in GovOps or something. I don't know. Or because when I met with Kate Webb, it didn't sound like she had it. So anyhow.
Does our council have any?
Oh yeah, Ms. St. James, do you know where that bill landed in the House?
I don't, but I'm looking it up right now.
Okay, thank you for doing that. Senator Lyons.
Yeah, so no, I want to agree. I should have prefaced my comments by agreeing with the idea that we have critically important issues to deal with, and we don't
Yeah.
want to leave any of them by the side of the road. So
Right.
I'm totally there. But one other thing about rulemaking, and probably we should ask the state board. I don't know, maybe Miss St. James have already done that, about the timing. Sometimes we hear it takes between up to 18 months to complete rulemaking, and I don't know what the timing for this type of rule would be, since
That's
it
a
may
great point.
have some controversy, but I don't know.
It's a great point. We might have to look at dates and time. I really appreciate you raising that. Senator Hooker? No, okay. Okay, so again, we'll see if this is something that we could get through relatively quickly, and while not taking up time for other things, and we'll just sort of play it by ear. Might be something that we get finished. I'll talk to the House as well. Ms. St. James, did you have any luck tracking that down? You did. Thank you.
I did. Yeah, it was referred to the Committee on Education.
Oh, it was? Okay. Okay. Good to know. I will let Representative Webb know it's there. Okay. Any final questions or comments about this or anything else? Otherwise, I think we are going to adjourn early today. Yes, Senator Perschlick.
I was just trying to think in my mind the different things we do have, to Jared's point. And
Yeah.
Did we create a miscellaneous, or am I thinking about?
We created a miscellaneous. I can go back. Let me just pull up my list and give everybody a quick overview of the way I'm kind of thinking. We do have a miscellaneous education bill with 3 things in it. As I recall, we put in there, even though it'll change slightly, the CCV language for refugees. We put in there school discipline, and we put something else in there, Ms. St. James. I don't know if you recall.
Kindergarten.
Sorry?
2 more things in there: kindergarten age and universal school calendar.
Universal school calendar state. That's right. That's right. So we've got a big miscellaneous ed bill. I'm sorry, please. Yes.
Sorry to interrupt, but did we put in there a request to for determining the relationship between remote learning days and?
We did.
Okay.
We did, right, Ms. St. James? We did put that language in there.
That's not on the most recent draft I've done for you, but I'm happy to add language for the next time.
Yeah, would you please?
Yep.
I'm not trying to pull one over Senator Lyons. I thought
It was too controversial. I know.
I thought we did. Okay, so I apologize.
Yes, it's okay.
So yes, we'll put that in there. Wink, 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 nod, nod. Don't put it in. No, yes, please, please put it in. And so we're going to continue our work on that whole bill next week. The church and state, I think we're at a good sort of pause spot where we'll look at the new draft on Wednesday, start to share with colleagues, see if we can get to a spot on that. The Holocaust bill, I think we're going to come back to. I've heard from some other people to continue that discussion, as well as I'm making a list of things to put into the budget. And I think the Holocaust bill will be connected to an appropriation, as we've talked a little bit about that, and hoping to support the Agency of Education with their work around Holocaust studies, et cetera. Let's see what else I have on my list. We are going to get a bill. I've been looking into ways to get the allow retired teachers to go back into the classrooms without impacting their pensions. I believe it was you, Ms. St. James, that helped me navigate that a little bit early on, wasn't you? Oh, so it might have been, it was somebody else on Ledge Council. I thought maybe the governor could do it by executive order. The House is taking that up, so they're going to send us a bill on that. I know they're working on it. Weighting / categorical grants. I would think, we're moving toward a letter on that. I met with the corner office this morning, and with Senator Cummings and others. they're okay. They're not in a rush, really. Let me put it that way. That letter doesn't need to leave tomorrow. That letter could get to Senator Cummings in about that recommendation in about a week and a half. So what I'd like in part of that is so colleagues from different parts of the state can start to dig into this a little bit. We can sort of get a sense of where our colleagues are, make certain everybody has enough information on it, and then we'll kind of pick that up again, probably a little bit later next week. We have a number of things related to the budget that we're working on. We need to take some testimony on, and related to that, we have the teacher support bill, but we also know something's happening with that in the agency already, so we need to have them in. Yeah, those are highlights. I mean, I do have a few other little things. Senator Perchlik?
Yeah, I wondered if my bill was on.
Oh, yes, S-169, top of the list, actually. Honestly, it is in bright blue. Look quickly, there it is. No, I do have S-169, Dr. Perchlik, and that there's a star next to it. So we are working on getting some testimony for that as well next week. Anything else that I've mentioned that I haven't mentioned? Yes, Senator Hooker. Yes.
We have a governance bill dealing with the Vermont State Colleges and UVM, and I hope that we can at least get some testimony on that.
Okay. Yep. Thanks for that reminder. Yep.
My bill is not 169. That's an education bill that.
Are you 283?
I was just trying to find what the number is actually.
I have Andy Perchlik 169, and then I have S-283. If neither of those work, give me a minute.
Yeah, the ones in our committee. 162.
Oh, 162. Okay. Okay. Yep.
29, they're close.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, let's give Senator Terenzini some credit here. He's right. We've got a lot to do. No question about it. I feel like we're in pretty good shape since we still have about 5 weeks before we've got to get things to the House or to even money committees. So I've got some work to do, but I think we'll be in good shape. And if we don't get to it, we know who we will hear from all during the campaign season. It'll be Joshua Terenzini, will be in all of our districts. Senator Terenzini, on that note.
No, I think the Republicans, we're looking to adjourn about March 15th this year. So.
Good to know.
You know what? I thought,
Yeah.
We go right ahead. You guys, you can adjourn anytime you want. We'll be right here.
I appreciate the entire 7 of us. We'll just sit out. All right.
No, don't do
that.
No.
Yeah. Okay. I'll work on, Daphne and I are going to stick around together after this to work on next week. Good review. Thanks for raising it, Senator Perchlik, of some of the things that we've got going. We also, I should mention, we do have a House vehicle. We do have a vehicle. We did not use their literacy bill last year. That's sitting on the wall because I'm waiting to hear back on a few things. You may recall school lunches are sitting on their wall. I don't know where they are with that. I believe people are checking in to see those who are particularly committed to that issue. We all are, but there are a couple of key people. And so not that we would need to use it, but we do have a vehicle to send a couple of things back if need be, if we need to prompt them a little bit to get a few things finished from last year. We also, I should mention, are hearing from people next week, updates on PCBs and lead. We already have that on the calendar. And that overlaps, a lot of that will overlap with health and welfare as well. Okay, anything else? Thanks everybody for a great week. Hope you enjoy the snow and look forward to seeing you all soon. Thanks a million, Beth.